This is definitely the most exaggerated isekai anime ever. A blinding flash of white light, and an ugly gorilla actually turned into a beautiful woman who immediately clung to Seiichi's legs, loudly proclaiming her desire to be Seiichi's wife. Despite Seiichi's now charming appearance before being transported, he was a complete loser, overweight and suffering from unbearable body odor, leading a miserable life of isolation and bullying at school. On this day, Seiichi was going through his usual routine of being bullied, when suddenly, a message came over the school's PA system announcing that the god would invite everyone to participate in a game. The broadcast then ordered all classmates to return to their seats, except for Seiichi, who was still lying on the ground. They were to become heroes, and the god was going to transport them all to another world. Thankfully, the god was quite merciful. They could choose their own attributes and skills, and even form teams. But given Seiichi's popularity in class, it was expectedly hard for him to find a team. Indeed, after 10 minutes, classmates were already forming teams without him. One boy mocked Seiichi for all his attributes being at the lowest level of 1, and his luck was atrociously bad. This greatly upset Seiichi. Then the teleportation began. In an instant, all his classmates disappeared, leaving only Seiichi behind, isolated. Eventually, even the god couldn't stand it anymore and gave him a special privilege before teleporting him to the isekai as well. But unlike his classmates who were transported to a plaza, Seiichi found himself in the wilderness. 5 days passed, and Seiichi lived a primitive life on the verge of starvation. Just as he was about to catch a plump bug that passed by, he was interrupted by a noise. When he looked up, he saw a large fruit in front of him. Unable to resist, he devoured the evolutionary fruit. Though it tasted awful, it was filling. After eating, a voice inside him announced the start of an evolution. Seiichi, noticing no changes in his body, didn't pay much attention and went off to find more food. Unwittingly, he encountered monkeys and the same type of evolutionary fruit he had just eaten. Upon examination, the monkeys were all level 120, while Seiichi was only level 1. Just as Seiichi was about to give up, the monkeys suddenly left. Was this luck? Seiichi quickly stole the evolutionary fruits and even the high-level recovery water from the ground. Later, when Seiichi found more food to satiate his hunger, he even ate mushrooms marked with 3 question marks, which turned out to be highly poisonous. Thinking he might as well die full, Seiichi took out the last 2 evolutionary fruits. Just as he ate them, the poison was neutralized, and he learned a skill of being immune to all poisons. Regretting not saving a fruit for emergencies, he was cheered by the sound of the skill upgrading. Before his happiness lasted long, a monkey hit him so hard that he bled profusely. Without hesitation, Seiichi grabbed the recovery water and drank furiously, his body healing instantly. But the level 120 monkey was relentless, beating Seiichi, who was only level 1. Just when Seiichi thought he was going to be eaten, his body odor knocked the monkey unconscious, who then dropped some valuable items. Seiichi found he could learn skills from the skill cards he touched, and he even found a book on monkey abilities that he could surprisingly understand. Was this the god's cheat given to him? Before he could figure it out, an evolutionary voice sounded within him, and suddenly, Seiichi's stomach hurt so much he couldn't stand it, and he collapsed. When he woke up again, his body had undergone a dramatic transformation, from a chubby guy to a handsome man, and all his attributes had increased by 1,000. Happiness came so unexpectedly. Yet this evolution would happen 10 times in total, meaning Seiichi had to endure this pain 9 more times. What Seiichi found hardest to accept was that his level was still only 1. Instantly, Seiichi lost his desire to play. 5 months later, Seiichi easily defeated a level 300+ wolf beast, once again enjoying the comfort of his evolved body. Although his surface level showed little change, all his other attributes had improved. He was just 1 evolution away from completion. After collecting his spoils of victory, he found himself surrounded by a group of monkeys. Suddenly, a pink gorilla fell from the sky. Seiichi was terrified by its huge size. The gorilla didn't waste words and challenged Seiichi to a duel, not allowing the other monkeys to interfere. Seiichi wanted to refuse, but the gorilla didn't give him the chance to do so. Seeing its level was over 700, Seiichi had no choice but to run. Before he could react, the gorilla punched, shattering the ground where Shoichi had just been standing. Seeing Shoichi dodge its attack, the gorilla blushed shyly. Shoichi saw the gorilla eyeing his body and could no longer bear it. He responded with a flying kick, but the gorilla easily dodged it and countered with a heavy punch, sending Shoichi flying hundreds of miles away. When the gorilla saw Shoichi was still alive, it fell in love with him instantly, introducing itself as Saraya. Shoichi couldn't stand it. A huge gorilla bearing the name of a beautiful girl was too much. He swung his claws in a slashing attack, but still couldn't touch the gorilla's body. The gorilla leaped into the air and dove towards Shoichi with the speed of its fall. After a tremor, Shoichi, who had dodged, thought the gorilla had crushed him to death, but surprisingly he was unharmed. Shoichi quickly switched to a dagger, and with a lift of his left hand, a water column fell from the sky. Unexpectedly, it missed the target and hit himself instead. Taking advantage of this, the gorilla punched Shoichi, causing him to spit blood. At that moment, he remembered his undefeated secret weapon, his body odor. He abandoned all defenses, relaxed, and focused on emitting his scent. As the fist neared his handsome face, Shoichi thought he was doomed, but a reversal happened. The gorilla completely fell in love with the scent of Shoichi's body. Without a second word, it picked him up to take him back to its lair. After capturing Shoichi and taking him back to its tree hole, the gorilla took great care of him, cooking meals and even presenting handmade clothes. Shoichi was almost moved, a perfect wife and mother indeed. However, Shoichi remained clear-headed, knowing well the difference between humans and monsters. Outwardly, he accepted the gorilla's kindness, but inwardly, he was plotting his escape. The gorilla, even when going out hunting, insisted on bringing Shoichi along. Shoichi planned to sneak away when it wasn't looking, but turned around only to encounter a spider monster. Hearing Shoichi scream, the gorilla rushed to his side and punched the spider monster away, continuously showing concern for Shoichi. Shoichi felt guilty, always thinking about escaping while the other genuinely cared for him. Back in the tree hole, the gorilla suddenly asked about the evolution fruit. Shoichi accidentally spat water in its face, thinking of the evolution fruit he had previously stolen. Shoichi quickly shook his head, denying any knowledge. The gorilla mentioned it had already eaten 10 fruits, and eating an 11th would be fatal. It had prepared another 10 for its future husband, but they were stolen. It vowed to pulverize the thief into dust. Shoichi was instantly unsettled, embracing the idea that admitting a mistake is still a mark of a good child. He confessed to the gorilla that he was the thief. Surprisingly, the gorilla wasn't angry, leaving Shoichi in disbelief. The gorilla said it was fate. The fruit of evolution was meant for its future husband, but now it was eaten by Shoichi, and it was about to marry him. But Shoichi immediately interrupted and refused. Knowing it couldn't rush things, the gorilla decided to go hunting. When Shoichi heard it was going out, he didn't hesitate and ran away, just as he breathed the free air. And hadn't gone far, the gorilla chased after him, seeming to warn Shoichi of danger ahead, quickly catching up. But Shoichi didn't give it a chance. He cheated by using teleportation to shake the gorilla off far away. Gasping, Shoichi reached a cave, which looked somewhat eerie. Driven by the gorilla's pursuit, he had no choice but to run into the cave. Then he pushed open a door inside, only to find a talking skeleton. Shoichi, unsure of the situation, decided to first assess its level. Surprised to find the skeleton was level 1500, twice as high as the gorilla. As the first human to enter the cave, he didn't plan to hold back. Thrusting his sword into its chest, Shoichi had already closed his eyes to accept death. But unexpectedly, the gorilla took the sword strike for him. Seeing the gorilla fall, Shoichi finally shouted its name. The gorilla was happy to hear it. The Skeleton King's blow was fatal. It couldn't last much longer. It sacrificed itself for Shoichi because it loved his kindness and had enjoyed their time together. Moved, Shoichi's tears flowed. The gorilla said before dying, it wanted to see Shoichi's smile. Shoichi fulfilled its request. The Skeleton King mocked the gorilla's love for Shoichi as boring. Hearing this, Shoichi instantly became furious. Regardless of the opponent's level, he vowed to avenge Saraya. Shoichi pulled out all his equipment and used all the skills he had learned these days. Could a level 1 Shoichi really defeat a level 1500 Skeleton King? Under Seiichi's final assault, the Skeleton King also found relief. Transforming into a normal human, with his beloved woman by his side, it turned out the Skeleton King was also a pitiful person. Once a strong warrior, he fought against dark nobles, gaining people's worship and recognition. Yet he was plotted against by a jealous king and betrayed by his wife. Only a maid stayed by his side. After she was killed, he retreated into the cave, guarding his beloved's remains, until Seiichi defeated him, allowing him to find release. Seiichi saw a white light emanating from the gorilla. Thinking it too would vanish, he decided to accept its declaration of love before it disappeared, giving it a final kiss. Unexpectedly, this kiss allowed the gorilla to evolve completely. The light dispersed, and the gorilla evolved into a beautiful girl. Seiichi's nose bled profusely. What was previously gratitude now turned into deep love. Who wouldn't love such a beautiful wife? With a beautiful wife now secured, next was to collect the spoils. Equipment burst forth from the Skeleton King, not a few, with various skills that even allowed Seiichi to evolve one last time. After evolving, Seiichi instantly turned into a handsome man. Even Saria blushed seeing him, saying she would follow Seiichi from now on. Seiichi finally felt relieved. Just as they were preparing to leave, a little goat in leather shoes appeared out of nowhere. He said he was the labyrinth manager. The little goat's purpose was to deliver the reward for clearing the level. With a snap of his fingers, a bag of seeds for the fruit of evolution appeared in Seiichi's hand and gave the two a set of travel clothes. Afterward, they were teleported out of the cave, arriving outside in the forest. After coming out of the instance, Seiichi planned to take Saria to the newbie village, since one was a transmigrator and the other an evolved gorilla turned beautiful girl. Currently without official identities, they needed to go to the town guild to register. On the road, they encountered a slime. Seiichi, upon assessing it, discovered that even the lowest of slimes on the food chain were level 88. Yet Seiichi himself was only level 1. When the slime attacked, Seiichi instantly felt challenged. He pulled out 2 weapons, intending to show off, but unexpectedly defeated the slime in one move. Seiichi was suddenly unsettled. Could he actually be an invincible monster? Saria, his primary consort, with keen eyes, noticed the equipment that burst out of the slime. Seiichi picked up the loot, which included a pair of boots and 2 skill cards. Seiichi handed the boots to Saria, and the skill cards were automatically absorbed. After leveling up, Seiichi's helmet transformed into a stylish cloak. A letter also dropped, informing Seiichi that with his level up, his equipment had also upgraded. The cloak was capable of hiding Seiichi's real power. After delivering its message, the letter self-destructed. Seiichi was indignant, but had no recourse against the administrator. He could only proceed to the novice village with Saria. Upon arrival, they successfully entered the town after their identities were verified by the Orb of Truth. The town guard, kindly warning Seiichi not to register in this city, did not deter him. Seiichi, curious, still went to the Adventurers Guild. However, upon witnessing the scenes inside the guild, he regretted his decision, but it was too late. The guild president suddenly appeared behind them, enthusiastically introduced himself, and pushed both Seiichi and Saria into joining the guild. With new members, Miss Xiao, the receptionist, quickly turned into a cute front desk lady, which Saria found adorable. The receptionist proficiently briefed them about the guild, guessing that Seiichi must be looking for information. Indeed, Seiichi needed to know where his classmates were. As Seiichi hesitated, Saria felt they should join the guild as the people there seemed good. Just as they completed their registration, a member of the Shamat group barged in, learning that Seiichi was a new member and prepared a welcome ceremony for him. Without resisting, Seiichi followed them outside. When they lifted his cloak, they were momentarily charmed by his good looks. Seiichi sensed trouble, but they were ready, even comforting him that it would only hurt at the beginning. Seiichi, no longer calm, broke free and led them on a chase. Fortunately, with his astonishing agility and speed, he managed to escape them. Back at the guild, Seiichi angrily criticized the guild, but the president said it was all in good spirit and did not intervene. The front desk lady then mentioned that all new members must undergo a test to understand their abilities and determine their rank for task assignments. The examiner had to be at least B level, and in the guild there was only one, Altria, an A-level adventurer. Upon seeing Altria's beauty, Shoichi couldn't hide his lecherous expression, which made Saria jealous. Initially, Altria did not want to be an examiner, but after seeing Shoichi's nonchalant demeanor, she got angry and moved him in front to admonish him. Fortunately, after some mediation by the president, Altria reluctantly accepted the task. She then took Shoichi and Saria to complete 3 menial tasks. On the way, Shoichi complimented Altria on her lovely smile, causing her to blush with embarrassment. Quickly, they arrived at the location of their first task, which was to take care of some children. Upon hearing this, Saria knew she was up to the task, and the children liked her very much. Then, Altria took Shoichi to accomplish the second task, which involved dismantling an abandoned ruin. Before Altria could finish explaining, Shoichi walked towards the center of the ruin, and as soon as he touched it, it instantly collapsed, burying Shoichi alive. Altria immediately panicked, crying and blaming herself while digging through the rubble, saying she should have known better. She considered herself a calamity magnet, believing that anyone who gets close to her would end up facing misfortune, just like how a piece of wood inexplicably fell on a child they had kindly helped on their way there. This was also the reason she initially did not want to accept this commission. She cried with regret, but then Shoichi emerged from the rubble without a scratch. Altria was surprised, but she scolded Shoichi, telling him not to act recklessly in the future, as it could endanger the rest of the team in a real monster-fighting scenario. Seeing Altria's concern, Shoichi was touched and watched her, but Altria, blushing, quickly ran off to complete the third task. When Shoichi heard that the task was to walk a dog, he confidently said it would be easy, but he was bewildered when he actually went to do it, for it was not a dog but clearly a wolf, and it was the wolf walking him, not the other way around. Altria watched amusedly from the side. The lady owner noticed Altria's change of mood and teased her, asking if it was because of Shoichi that she seemed different. Although Altria did not admit it, her actions afterward were very honest. After completing 3 miscellaneous tasks, they returned to the guild, where the guildmaster gave them a reward. Altria suggested to Shoichi that if he had not yet found a place to stay, he could come to live with her. The front desk lady and the guild master were shocked by Altria's gesture. Shoichi and Saria were very willing after completing the 3 tasks, and Shoichi had already formed 2 harems, while his classmates were still swinging wooden swords in the castle, a true no comparison, no harm scenario. Meanwhile, the next assessment was an outdoor adventure task. As the examiner, Altria issued a task to collect 10 common herbs. Shoichi said, "This sounds quite simple." Before Altria could finish speaking, he rushed out to find the herbs, followed closely by Saria. But instead of finding common herbs, Shoichi found rare magic mushrooms and rare antidote herbs. He wanted to ask someone where to find the common herbs, but accidentally stumbled upon a few demons discussing some grand plan. The 3 demons thought Shoichi was just an ordinary human and tried to kill him to keep their secret. Shoichi, realizing something was wrong, tried to leave, but the demon leader was unhappy and summoned his big buddy, who came swinging a huge club. They thought they had crushed Shoichi into a pulp, but with one hand, Shoichi blocked the club and casually crushed it. Undeterred, Shoichi still wanted to ask where he could find the herbs, but they were already terrified by Shoichi and quickly fled. Shoichi was quite helpless. Soon it was time for the assessment, and Saria, following the requirements, successfully brought back 10 common herbs. Shoichi, however, had found rare magic mushrooms and rare antidote herbs, with only 5 common herbs found just under his feet at Altria's hint. Still 5 short. What to do? Shoichi looked pitifully at Altria, who reluctantly pulled out 5 herbs to help Shoichi cheat, completing the task of collecting herbs. Next was the task to defeat 10 slimes. Shoichi and Saria said no problem, as both were not ordinary people and had retained their strength. Seeing their confidence, Altria was reassured, knowing that as an A-class adventurer, she could protect them in the worst-case scenario. At that moment, 3 slimes suddenly appeared. Shoichi quickly raised his great sword and swung at them, but unexpectedly, the slimes vanished. Altria stepped forward to investigate and found a teleportation circle. Prioritizing safety, Altria thought it best to halt the examination and return to the guild first. However, she accidentally stepped on the teleportation circle and worried for his second wife. Shoichi followed and was also teleported. The three of them were transported to the lair of a black dragon, a dungeon underground. Altria handed Shoichi a compass stone, telling him it could guide the way if they were separated. Moreover, the stone would emit a red light if a teammate was in mortal danger, serving also as a distress signal. After explaining the stone's function, Altria gave the command to move out. Unexpectedly, she immediately stepped on a trap in the maze, and all three were stunned. Altria's knack for finding trouble was unmatched. A wall then separated the three of them. Shoichi tried to punch through the wall, but the wall remained undamaged, and instead, his fist swelled up like a sandbag. Using the compass stone to find direction, they had just separated from Altria, who was right behind the wall. The two of them, lacking in wit, thought to break the wall with the compass stone. A ridiculous idea. How could a small stone move a wall? With their brains failing them, they could only search for another way around the wall. They ended up walking into several dead ends in the maze. Just as Shoichi was about to give up, Saria found something good. They successfully avoided all dangers and entered a room with a treasure chest. Shoichi glanced at it briefly, sensed something odd, and turned to leave. But the treasure chest, as if alive, insisted that Shoichi open it. It lunged at Shoichi, who casually cast a binding spell and killed it, leveling up in the process. The treasure chest monster fell and turned into a box, revealing a tome, an unfortunate ring, and 2 skill cards. The unfortunate ring, a legendary item, would have the wearer's luck. Just as Shoichi was complaining about the useless ring, the compass stone suddenly emitted red light, signaling that Altria was in danger. The two panicked, not knowing what to do, and could only return the way they came, back to the wall that separated them. But the result was the same. The wall remained immovable. Meanwhile, Altria, who had been fighting minor monsters and was injured, had accidentally wandered into the black dragon's lair. The black dragon, seeing food delivered to its doorstep, was thrilled and began to thrash Altria. Even though Altria activated a powerful emergency skill, she was still overpowered by the dragon, and the fight was quickly lost. The unharmed black dragon lost interest, and just as it was about to finish Altria with a breath attack, Shoichi suddenly appeared, blocking the dragon's breath with his cloak. It must be said, this heroic rescue was impressively arranged. After multiple failed attempts, Shoichi, in a rage, threw a punch of anger and finally broke through the maze's wall. He then knocked the black dragon unconscious, rescuing Altria at a critical moment. Just as he was treating Altria, the black dragon woke up. Shoichi pulled out his equipment and talked tough, but the dragon, not a vegetarian, launched a breath attack at Shoichi first. Shoichi dodged the attack, but then the dragon's claw sent him flying through the air, smashing him against the wall. Injured and falling, Shoichi then assessed the black dragon's level, surprised to find it was level 5000. Just as Shoichi realized it was going to be a tough fight, the black dragon was already preparing a massive attack. Seeing the huge fireball, Shoichi panicked. Luckily, Saria reminded Shoichi to use the same move he had used against her before. It was then that Shoichi regained his composure, unleashing his flood skill. A massive water column fell from the sky, directly extinguishing the black dragon beast's giant fireball. Seeing its powerful attack dispersed, the black dragon beast became thoroughly enraged and attacked Shoichi again. Watching Shoichi dodge with ease, the beast's eyes turned red and immobilized Shoichi on the spot. Thinking it was the final move, unexpectedly, Shoichi hacked the game again, breaking the suppression, and charged through the black dragon beast's red-eyed pressure. The black dragon beast was somewhat surprised, but it was already too late. Shoichi raised his sword, charged at the black dragon beast, and transformed it into a treasure chest upon defeating it. Shoichi's level was raised once again, feeling once more how lonely it is to be invincible. At that moment, Saria rushed over. Though they had defeated the black dragon beast, they had yet to find an exit. Saria was somewhat flustered, but Shoichi regained his intelligence, suggesting that they check the loot, which might contain information about the exit. Instantly, Shoichi collected several high-grade materials from the body of the black dragon beast, including a black dragon jewel. Eating it would enhance his own abilities and magical power. Without a second thought, Shoichi swallowed it whole, surprised by the pleasant taste, and even learned a spatial skill. Now he had a way to return. Among the items in the chest was an overlord's robe that could defend against ordinary weapons, and another was a biography book of the black dragon beast from before its death, detailing the dragon's experiences. It was originally a black dragon god that protected humans, but due to human greed, wanting to use its high-grade materials to enhance themselves, they began plotting to kill the black dragon god. At a critical moment, the Demon King intervened to save the dragon, but was ultimately defeated by a hero summoned by humans. Thus, the black dragon god was sealed by humans in this underground labyrinth. Upon finishing the story, Shoichi shed tears of regret. No wonder the black dragon harbored such hatred towards humans. He had mistakenly slain the dragon. Saria consoled Shoichi, curious why the dungeon manager hadn't appeared this time. Suddenly, a small explosion turned Shoichi's hair into an explosive mess, and a few pages of a letter floated down, revealing that the small sheep had gone off to enjoy life, leaving only a letter behind. The task wasn't to defeat the black dragon beast, but to allow it to return to the Demon King and live a peaceful life. Shoichi commented on the high difficulty of the task, deciding to head out first. Using his spatial skill, Shoichi successfully exited the labyrinth. On the way back to the city, Altria woke up, only able to apologetically mention her negative 2 million luck value, causing misfortune to anyone nearby. However, Shoichi and Saria felt completely unaffected. Back at the guild, everyone continued to treat her as a comrade, not shunning her. Moved again, Altria cried, unsure how to face this, and ran out of the guild. Shoichi, confused, heard Saria's suggestion to simply follow her. Following her advice, he found Altria in the corner of a previously visited abandoned site. Having heard so many suggestions, Shoichi somewhat wised up, approaching and hugging Altria from behind for a long time. Altria was shy, but Shoichi enjoyed the moment. Then Shoichi placed the ring of misfortune he had obtained from the chest on Altria's hand, turning her negative luck value to a positive 4 million, and even renamed it the Ring of Happiness. Altria's perilous condition was successfully resolved. Shoichi, seizing the moment, expressed his commitment to her happiness. Blushing, Altria, overwhelmed, pushed Shoichi away and ran off again. Shoichi instantly reverted to his straightforward self, sitting there looking utterly confused. He never expected that his subconscious action would capture the heart of this young girl. It seemed that securing his second harem member was now a done deal. Elsewhere, as Altria fled, she recalled the words Shoichi had said, feeling an instant rush of affection, though she knew it was unintentional on his part, aware that he already had a beautiful girl by his side. Unsure of how to face this, she opted to avoid them for the time being. Shoichi, on the other hand, didn't dwell too deeply on it. His main focus was on finding his classmates who had also been transported to this world, as well as understanding the moral alignment between demons and heroes. Following the advice of their president, he decided to visit the library to learn more about this world. Once he started reading, he couldn't stop. He absorbed every skill from the books he read, even while simply lying down, and even mastered a skill that allowed him to create magic. Somewhat reluctantly, Shoichi did not want to turn into an invincible monster. Walking down the street, he prepared to look for something to eat, when a beast-eared girl caught his attention at her stall, selling paintings. Shoichi, liking what he saw, approached to support her business, purchasing a painting of a beautiful girl's back that no one else seemed interested in. The beast-eared girl was surprised but happy to see a customer appreciate her work. After buying the painting, Shoichi was lured by the smell of food to a nearby restaurant. His growling stomach compelled him to enter. The restaurant was quiet, with only one other customer, who happened to be the king of the country. The king, finding Shoichi interesting, invited him to sit down. The food was so delicious that Shoichi ate voraciously. After eating, he chatted with the owner and a man nearby about recent events, casually mentioning Altria. The man and the owner informed him that putting a ring on Altria's ring finger was equivalent to a proposal. Only then did Shoichi realize what he had inadvertently done, which explained why Altria had been avoiding him. Seeing that Shoichi had someone in his heart, the owner suggested that Shoichi either accept Altria or sincerely apologize to gain her forgiveness. The nearby king added that if forgiveness wasn't obtained, according to local law, Shoichi's actions could lead to execution. Hearing this, Shoichi panicked and rushed out to apologize to Altria. Meanwhile, Altria reflected on her encounters with Shoichi, feeling that he only saw her as a friend, though she had unwittingly fallen for him. As she struggled with how to interact with him, a life coach appeared, her former female employer. She quickly saw through Altria's turmoil, understood the situation, and confirmed Altria was experiencing her first love, encouraging her to pursue it if she felt so inclined. After some encouragement, Altria decided not to hide her feelings any longer, wanting Shoichi to reciprocate her affection. After leaving the restaurant, Shoichi was also conflicted, unsure if he had feelings for Altria, especially since he already had Saria and did not want to betray her. He walked back home, thinking he hadn't seen his wife all day, and decided to check on her first. Before he could enter, Altria caught up to him and kissed him, confessing her feelings. She knew about Saria, but still didn't want to leave Shoichi. Seeing the tears streaming down the young girl's face, Shoichi thought of the innocent and lovely Saria and the king's words, believing that being truly responsible for both would be the right thing to do. Just as Saria, the first wife, makes her appearance, Shoichi feels the awkwardness of being caught red-handed. He wants to explain, but Saria unexpectedly agrees on his behalf right then and there. She allows Shoichi to accept Altria, expressing her own fondness for Altria and commenting that having a sister wife might be nice. Shoichi is moved to tears by her generosity. Saria speaks frankly, her reasoning based on animal instincts. Strong males naturally attract females. After hearing this, although Altria and another person feel something is off, they don't mind anymore. Since the first wife has agreed, Shoichi can now openly maintain a harem.